2 weeks before January 30th, then died of the flu in the past 3 years. With your Verify, I'm Casey Decker.
What we're talking about today on Daily Blast Live.
Drama at the women's figure skating final, from falls on the ice to major breakdowns. Plus the moment Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford turns his back after a photographer falls. A woman wears a fake baby bump at work to get paid leave. How did she finally get caught? A National Geographic explorer shares her quest to find wrecked slave ships, how she's unearthing hidden treasures in Black history. Plus, Elvis, like you've never seen him in a new movie.
Are you ready to fly?
I'm ready. Ready to fly.
And a first look at Viola Davis as Michelle Obama in a series about former first ladies.
Oh, still got it.
Never lost it.
Insane. This is a sham. No. Just stop.
Finally here, drum roll.
Jeff is already making fun of me.
Casual Friday down there.
I'm wearing jeans too.
No, I'm joking around. You look beautiful.
Thank you.
But the hair's a little different because of Julie Michaels' incident yesterday. And then the jeans, I rarely see you in jeans.
I never wear jeans. I did take a page from your book because you wear jeans on Friday, so I am taking a page from Jeff Schroeder's book. As far as the hair goes, listen, I get one blowout a week. One. By day 5, Mama got to get creative, so Mama put a top knot in. Okay?
You look beautiful. All of you do.
Thank you so much. All right, let's get to it because I'm sure that you guys have all seen this. If not, we're going to tell you. There was some major drama at the Olympics figure skating competition. 17-year-old Alexandra Truseva, who finished second after doing 5 quadruple jumps, fell apart after failing to win, saying, "I hate this sport." Meantime, the favorite 15-year-old Kamila Valieva, who was under intense scrutiny due to the doping scandal, fell repeatedly during her routine, finishing 4th. She broke down in tears and was berated by her coach, who demanded to know, quote unquote, "Why did you stop fighting?" Here's what the IOC president said about that.
I was very, very disturbed yesterday when I afterwards saw how she was received by her closest entourage with such a, what appeared to be a tremendous coldness. It was chilling.
Russia is responding, saying he doesn't like the harshness of our coaches, but everybody knows that the harshness of coaches in high-level sports is key for their athletes to achieve victories. All right, so Erica, what did you think of the drama?
I think it's really ironic that the president of the IOC is speaking out about this when really he was complicit in playing a part in a 15-year-old being a part of the scrutiny, which was completely overshadowing anything about the games and the sport. To say about how her coaches treated her, was that not anticipated? Because she has been at the center of this entire controversy, and a big part of it is because they allowed her to be there.
Is 15 too young, in your opinion?
I don't know. You're competing at a very high level, right? I don't agree with berating a 15-year-old girl by any means, but I do like the fact when I was playing sports, that some people were harder on me to get me to that next level. Because coaches that I had more of a friendship with didn't push me to go harder because they were my friend. Coaches that I didn't necessarily like actually pushed me to that next level of athletics. So I agree with the toughness, and I know a lot of people don't, but I'm more of a heart, tough love kind of guy.
I get that, but not in the most pressurized moment probably of her life. To me, it was too much. When the woman said, "Why haven't you fought? Why haven't you fought?" My theory on all of this is that she threw the skate. And whether it was subliminal or not, she fell multiple times.
There's no way.
No, let me finish. I don't think she wanted to be on the podium because she wanted to get away from the medals. I'm not saying she did it like I'm going to do it because of a betting or anything like that. This girl just wanted away. And she wanted away from getting people away from their medals. They weren't going to get it. The investigation was going to go on. She got fourth. I wonder if that was in some ways her saying, please, God, get me out of this.
Well, take the doping scandal aside. It's from what I recognized when I swam at that level, and I remember getting to know a lot of the Olympians when I was like 17 at the time, but there was like 14-year-old Amanda Beard, just won a silver medal. The coach is like it's more than a father figure. They have to be tough, yes, but they gotta be supportive. Anytime, because when you're at that level, your determination is higher probably than your coach's determination. So that's why I don't think she threw it. Yes, subliminally, with everything going on, that could have aided to what had happened. But I tell you what, if that coach would have hugged her afterwards and been supportive of her, I guarantee you those other two people wouldn't have been crying, because clearly that culture didn't just happen on the Olympics. That culture's existed in Russia for a very long time. And that's why those individuals do not like their sports. And it's not uncommon for a lot of young Olympians to not like their sport, because when you're 11, 12, 13, 14 years old and you're working out from 6 in the morning till 8 a.m., going straight to school, then working out again, having 5-hour practices on Saturday, it's a lot. So I just feel bad for her now.
Me too.
I was harsh on her a couple days ago. I feel really bad for her after all of this. Hopefully we can all give her some grace. Okay, so Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford is getting a ton of criticism right now. It's over this video from the parade. I know you guys have all been talking about it. We have too, from the Super Bowl winning team. A photographer was going to take a pic of Matthew and his wife when she fell off the stage. Matthew reacts to the fall, then turns his back and walks away. His wife, meantime, rushes to help. Now, the photographer suffered a fractured spine. Now, the Rams and the Staffords are saying they'll cover her medical costs as well as replace the equipment that broke because of the fall. Tori, you sent this to me a couple days ago, angry.
Yeah, because I think he didn't know the cameras were on him, and in my mind, that was the true Stafford. I don't know this man. I'm not trying to put him out. But when someone falls backwards without knowing, and it's a 6 to 8 feet tall stage, your human reaction, it's almost like if you hear a big loud noise and you turn, is to do this, like the wife. He not only said, oh my God, watch him, his wife goes to grab his arm and he pulls away. To me, whether he was drinking or whether he wasn't, this is a chilling instinct to walk away from something like that.
I want to show another angle, and then Jeff, jump in. Okay, this is another angle from TMZ Sports where you can actually see, it's allegedly around 6 to 8 feet, but you can see, especially when you're falling on concrete.
Totally.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. It could have all been avoided. Then we wouldn't be talking about it.
Look at Erica.
I already know what Erica's going to say. But I'm just trying to take the other side to this. How about this? And when you go to a wedding and me and my wife can't make it, I send a representative for the Schroeder family.
Dude.
Jordan goes, she was the representative for the Stafford family.
That was a bad look, and now they're paying for it because it's such a bad look.
Listen, it wasn't that bad.
Dude, it was awful.
It's bad.
He was drinking all day, allegedly.
Yeah,
right?
when
He
you
doesn't
know
want
what
to be
happens
involved.
when you drink, the truth comes out.
But so when I go out, remember before COVID, we'd all go out drinking. As soon as I got in a situation where I'm like, man, I don't like what's going on, I pull the plug, right? I pull a runner. That's like what Matthew Stafford did. He's like, I don't want to be involved in this. Was it a bad look? For sure,
Okay,
for sure.
I think it's something different than the volume escalating and people becoming out of control because they're out drunk partying. This was a woman who was working very closely with him, and he straight up watched her fall off 6 to 8 feet and then completely turns around and dismisses himself.
It was weird.
There are just some people who will see someone in distress and they automatically, first instinct is to run to try to help. There are other people who want to act like it never even happened.
Is it Erica? I love
yes.
your attention. Is it fair to judge him on this one moment? Because I initially did, and then I looked back at his history. The guy is a devout philanthropist, really loyal to his wife, great father. Perhaps in that moment he froze. Perhaps he thought the security guards that were right underneath were going to go run to her. Is there a way for us to think beyond that still?
I'm not saying that this particular incident paints the entire, totality of of his life. What I'm saying is, you don't want Matthew Stafford there if you get into some trouble.
Yeah.
You don't. You don't want anybody like
Final
him.
thought.
Let's just paint the other picture. He jumps down there, pulls her up, because that's what he does with his teammates, and she's got a fractured spine. Now she's suing Matthew Stafford for drinking all day and pulling her.
We can go 2 steps further, but the first step is there was a humanitarian moment that you could help.
Go to our YouTube.
Oh, we wouldn't be talking if had he gone like that.
Yeah, probably not.
We're going to continue the conversation on our YouTube. Coming up on DBL, longtime Inside Edition host Deborah Norville is here live. We talk with her next. Hey, hey.
Closed captioning provided by
Let me be direct. Why would you pay more than double for teeth straightening with Invisalign? With Smile
You sound really excited about it.
Download the app today.
I'm Tiffany. Hey, we're gonna go live in 5, 4.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. All right, guys, we have Deborah Norville
So it's
on
not
from
like
Inside
necessarily
Edition.
like, how dare
She
you?
is. Guess how many years?
Okay.
Tiffany.
Is that true?
27
Okay, because
years.
I
How old
took
are
out,
you?
like, did one of you put, because I wanted to be like,
So
I've
she's
done
3
things
years
like this
more
before the camera.
older time than you're been
Exactly.
born.
So I was like, I would be down
of
for
the
it.
Inside program,
Yeah.
Inside Edition, and we she has an exclusive interview with the Tinder swindler. And if you guys haven't seen that, it's really. Did you watch the Tinder swindler?
I did.
Yes.
And
She's
now,
So good,
right?
It's so good. Now, the Tinder swindler, I was really upset because he allegedly now has like this deal with this production company and a manager. It's because of him. Meaning he's the one that like secured this no-name manager. It's not like Anna Delvey.
He's still conning us. Oh, that's funny.
which I started yesterday.
Also,
I want to like just crush it over the weekend. It's very good.
I follow all the real
been
girls
a
now,
crazy-
and it's a true story.
I know. I'm gonna watch.
Real
I'm
girls,
gonna watch.
The
what
real
they're
girl,
talking about,
you know I
guys, and
love
it's a
the
true
actor.
story. And Julia Garner plays Anna on Netflix. It's really, really good if you're looking for. She swindled someone
She's
else.
the blonde girl who swears a lot from
She's
Ozark.
Ruse from Ozark, and she can't. She go bleep, bleep, bleep. We love her. She's
But she really shows a different side of herself as an actress.
She's a Meryl Streep to me.
She's really good.
I think she might be a future Meryl Streep.
She doesn't have that much to say about the Stafford thing. I was going to maybe get her to weigh in, but she wasn't. She was
Okay.
like, yeah, I could, but I don't know.
Okay.
So,
Good call, Deborah.
Hi. Yes.
30 seconds.
Please watch on YouTube.
She's a 27-year veteran of the hit news program Inside Edition and reported some of the most important stories of our generation. Please welcome to the show, Deborah Norville.
Hi guys, how are you?
We are doing well. Thank you so much for joining us. We hear you got an exclusive interview. Tori and I watched this front to back. The Tinder swindler, Jeff did too. Sorry about that. So you have to tell us, does Simon Leviev have any guilt for what he put these women through?
Okay, this is amazing because this is, I think, the number 10 Netflix program right now. And this is the first time that the so-called Tinder swindler is speaking out. We just did the interview the other day. He is in Tel Aviv, Israel, where he has been for quite some time. And we asked him, you know, are you the bad guy that you're portrayed to be? And his response was absolutely categorically, no, I'm not. Here's what he had to say.
Wow.
Do we have that clip?
We don't have the clip, I'm being told.
We don't have the clip.
We do
well,
not
I'm
have
going
the
to tell
clip.
you what he had to say. He said, absolutely, I'm not a swindler. He said, I didn't take from these women. He said, I'm the victim in this thing. He says he's been maligned by the women in the story. Now, never mind that he has spent time in jail for writing bad checks. He faced charges in Finland for a similar situation with 3 women in Finland, but there have been no charges with respect to the women that you've gotten to know watching the Netflix documentary. So we're going to start our interview with Simon today on Inside Edition, and we'll continue it on Monday because there's so much to
Deborah,
hear.
I can't wait.
Don't let him swindle you, Deborah.
Yeah, Deborah, get in there.
We did it long distance. He's in Tel Aviv, and he says he can't even leave his apartment. Ever since the documentary came out a couple of weeks ago, the media have been basically parked outside his apartment building. He says he has not left his apartment since the documentary started airing.
Well, I think that man is a... I really do. I really do. It's a very technical, professional term. Deborah, when you first started, the name Kardashian was associated with an attorney, not a cultural phenomenon. As a journalist, how did you find your stories back then?
Oh, gosh, when I first came to Inside Edition, really the same way we do it now. We try to tune into what people are talking about. And frankly, it's a lot easier now with social media because we can just see what's trending on Twitter or Instagram or that sort of thing. But some of our best stories don't come from reading the newspapers because everybody's read the newspaper. We've got a great story coming up today about we've all had our COVID tests, right? The inside of our noses are just raw from all the PCR tests we've had. And we've got a story about a company that is accused of swindling people out of $140 million in saying they're doing COVID tests, but then workers who are at the company say, well, we never actually did anything with the test. We just put them in a garbage bag. So now they've been cited by 2 state attorney generals in Washington State and in Minnesota.
Oh my gosh.
So that's not a story that's in the newspapers, but we hear about it. We go and follow it. Hey, it's a good story. We put it on Inside Edition.
Wow.
Yes, the deep dive. That's what we love, okay? So, Deborah, you've flown in fighter jets, hosted from a maternity ward. Now, looking back, what was the most memorable moment of your career?
Oh, wow. Well, let me just say the maternity ward was not by choice. I had my baby, and they couldn't find anybody to do the show, so they literally sent the camera crew to my hospital room. But honestly, the thing people ask me more about is when they sent me to jail. And again, I did not volunteer for that. In fact, I walked in there, the toughest jail in America. It was in North Carolina, and I said to the ladies in cell block A, I said, my name's Deborah. I'm here because I don't think my producers like me. What are you in for? And so I kind of took the attendance on, well, this one's in for stealing from McDonald's. She doesn't seem too scary. That one set her boyfriend on fire, allegedly, so I'm going to stay clear of her. That's the story that stands out because it was just so unlike anything. And also, I mean, you guys have been doing this a long time. I don't know what got you into journalism, but for me, it was I wanted to tell stories and hopefully be able to show possible solutions. That jail story is the only one I've ever done where I couldn't come up with an answer. Usually get the experts to say, this could work, and this could work, and this could work. I couldn't find an answer to the jail population going up 9% every year. I didn't see a way to fix when there was no stigma to being in jail because most of the women in jail with me had a family member who was in the same jail at the same time. It was nuts. So that was a depressing story for me, but boy, oh boy, it was interesting. That's what we do here.
Deborah, you're incredible. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for coming on to chat with us. And for everyone at home, be sure to check your local listings and tune in to watch Inside Edition's interview with the Tinder swindler, airing Monday, February 21st and Tuesday, February 22nd. Thank you, Deborah. We'll be right back.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I've never really...
American troops are staged in Eastern Europe to assist its allies if Russia attacks Ukraine. President Joe Biden said the U.S. sent equipment into Ukraine and warned it would defend its allies.
And make no mistake, the United States will defend every inch of NATO territory with the full force of American power. An attack against one NATO country is an attack against all of us.
Over the last week, Google search trends showed a spike in people asking about Ukraine's status in the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO. So, let's verify. Is Ukraine a NATO member? Our sources are NATO, the Brookings Institution, the Embassy of Ukraine to the United Kingdom, and Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky. NATO is an alliance of countries that started after World War II. It started with 12 countries and has expanded to 30 members across North America and Europe, including 5 that share borders with Russia. In order to join, existing members of NATO must unanimously vote in the new country and the nation must agree to 14 articles. Article 5 is the most frequently referenced because it requires every country to collectively respond to an attack on any NATO member. In 2008, Ukraine applied to join NATO with the support of Presidents George W. Bush and Barack Obama. However, there was resistance from France and Germany, and the application didn't go anywhere. So, no, Ukraine is not a member of NATO, although its application is pending, and it still wants to join the alliance. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
Welcome back. This story is about how online fame, especially for young girls, can get really dark and even violent. This is a 15-year-old, okay? This is Ava. She became a TikTok star with more than 1 million followers. She posts videos of her lip syncing, dancing to trending music. But here's where it turns dark. One of her fans, who turned out to be a stalker, turned up at her family home this past summer. He blew open the front door with a shotgun. Ava's dad, who is a retired police lieutenant, ended up shooting the man dead. So what would you do if you were Ava's parents? They're letting her stay on TikTok. She's also reportedly getting thousands of dollars in sponsorship deals. Erica, what would you do?
I'm not a parent, so I can't speak from that perspective. But as someone who understands what getting your personal life violated in that way is, you cannot be a prisoner because of someone else's inability to cope with reality. So I don't think it's a terrible move that they didn't have her get off of TikTok, because then who's to say that someone else isn't going to be obsessed with her on another platform or for another reason?
Yeah, this is what I talk about all the time with celebrities posting this, posting. I'm like, one crazy person, and this is what happens, right? Someone was shot and killed, I believe, right? Yeah, I don't know necessarily. I'm going to have to cross this bridge, Sam. You are too, at some point. I don't know when I'm going to let my kids on social media. I have a strong stance against social media because of things like this. And what China does with their TikTok is they have a shutoff point, right? I don't know if this would prevent
10 p.m.
this. Right, 10 p.m. and then it opens up again at 6 p.m. They don't do violent videos and dance videos. They promote like success videos, kids achieving different things. So those are the videos in their thing. They're already started on this path to the future of what we should do to improve TikTok or social media, etc. And we need to jump on board, because I'm not saying that would prevent, again, this happening, but we need to do something, because this is going to happen more and more and more.
I agree with you. Again, I'm not a parent, so I can speak to what you just said about China. Be careful there. China's a really censored country. It's a very they don't even allow Twitter there. Internet is shut off. So they only promote what they want to, which in some ways is propaganda. So that is what I worry about when we talk about regulating social media, is it becomes what the government wants you to see. It gets curated for you.
Not if you have a shut-off point, to Jeff's point.
Why have a shut-off point?
Because positive images.
But then you're never seeing another side.
But why not?
China puts people in horrific human rights conditions.
Of course, but
because
I'm using their business model, not their country's
let's not compare apples and oranges here.
Right.
Let's just compare the point that Jeff brought up with the fact that there should be a shut-off point, because a lot of teenagers are up all night long.
But who's to say
to their social
But who
media.
says what the time is? Who says what time? Why? What of freedom of expression? I'm a 15-year-old and I can't go online because I want to express something.
It's only for teenagers. Because how would that be different when certain stations that we watch here, the content changes at certain times?
You're blocking my route to freedom of expression. That's against my rights.
But when do we get involved here? When do we get involved? When you see teenagers have really high now, more than ever, and of course they attribute it to social media, levels of depression, anxiety, attempted suicide, suicide. There has to be. I'm not saying China is the answer, and I don't even want to call it China. I want to be very specific here, because then our words get twisted to have some sort of a shut-off point or regulation.
And also, I just want to say, like, you're for freedom of speech on things that you want to pick and choose.
That's not true.
You want a national mandate for masks.
I want a federal mandate for masks.
What about expressing yourself in that aspect?
For public health, I think that's a different reason. I think that goes separately.
But you pick and choose your freedoms of speech.
Can I finish? Freedom of speech to me is for speech I don't like. For Nazis to be able to walk in Skokie, Illinois. For KKK to be able to walk. That's a whole reason to have freedom of speech. For speech I hate, I have to have it be protected. For the idea for children, which I agree, there needs to be...
But that is a public health issue. And I agree with you with masks.
With the epidemic of suicides that is that what you're saying?
Mental health is a public health issue.
Agreed, and maybe there should be some regulations. I'm worried about saying there's a cutoff point because then someone who's a creative genius isn't getting that opportunity to do so. Now, I just say I'm not against regulation. I'm just really scared of going too far with it.
Yeah.
That's all.
No, that's a good point. We didn't get to hear from...
Racism is a public health issue, too.
It absolutely is. We're going to talk more about this in the break. Go to our YouTube because I want to hear from more what Erica had to say. We'll be right back.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by...
At the Winter Olympics, nearly half of the sports required the use of snow. After all, what's skiing without the feeling of fresh powder? Chinese government officials are touting the snow this year, especially since nearly all of it was artificially created. That's led to numerous headlines blasting China for its reliance on snow-making equipment to host the games. So, let's verify. Are the Beijing Winter Olympics relying almost entirely on artificial snow? Our sources are the International Ski Federation, a study on artificial snow by the Sport Ecology Group, and Noah Malich, an associate professor of geography at the University of Colorado Boulder, who's an expert in snow hydrology. Using fake snow is extremely common in winter sports. 95% of ski resorts use it, and the International Ski Federation explicitly permits its use in competitions, like the Olympics. In most cases, fake snow supplements the real stuff, like during the 1980 games in Lake Placid, New York, which were the first Olympics to use it. Although Malich and the Sport Ecology Group say the reliance on fake snow is increasing, making it more than 80% of the snow used in the Sochi and Pyeongchang games, and now nearly 100% in Beijing.
This is the first time the Olympics have been held in a place that is entirely reliant on artificial snow.
So, it's true. The Beijing Winter Olympics is relying almost entirely on artificial snow. Malich says downhill events like alpine skiing will have a more consistent and faster course, but aerial sports like the halfpipe could be more hazardous to athletes who lose control.
Artificial snow tends to be a lot more dense, a lot icier, a lot harder, more like concrete once it's formed on the ground. Whereas natural snow can be more like a powdery snow, lighter and fluffier.
With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
For the casual hockey fan who only tunes in during the Winter Games, here are a few common terms. Face-off. This is how play begins. The puck is dropped between two players who try to gain possession. Power play. If Team A has a player in the penalty box, then Team B has more players on the ice. Team B has a power play. Blue line. Two blue lines cut the rink into 3 zones, the neutral zone and the end zones. Center line, the red line that divides the rink in half. Goal line, the 2 red lines that run the width of the rink and are lined up with the goal opening. Icing, if a player shoots the puck and it crosses the center line and opponent's goal line, that's icing. Offside. This is one of the most confusing rules for non-hockey fans. Basically, it means that if Team A has possession, then the puck must cross the blue line into Team B's zone before the attacking players do. If a player from Team A enters the zone before the puck, then Team A is offside. There are other nuances to offside, but that is the simplest definition.
If you're leaving us, you can watch the second half of the show online. Watch on YouTube, dailyblastlive.com, or our DBL mobile app. But if you're sticking around, here's what's coming up. A first look, yes, at Viola Davis as Michelle Obama in a series all about former first ladies. Plus, a new movie about Elvis's life is getting a ton of buzz. We've got a sneak peek next.
COVID-19 has been compared and contrasted with the flu throughout the pandemic. One recent example, this viral tweet from a New York City ER doctor. He claimed, quote, More Americans died of COVID in the past 2 weeks than died of influenza in the past 3 years. The tweet was posted on January 30th, so let's verify. Did more people in the United States die of COVID in the 2 weeks before January 30th than died of the flu in the past 3 years? Our sources, the CDC, and the National Center for Health Statistics. That center, the NCHS, one of their jobs is to compile death records from around the country. They track everything from strokes to overdoses to flu and COVID in weekly reports. It takes a couple weeks for those records to get processed, so that's why we're doing this story now instead of when the tweet was initially posted. Anyway, according to this database, between the week of January 30th, 2019 and the week of January 30th, 2022, 16,844 people died from the flu in the U.S. And between January 16th, 2022 and January 29th, 23,524 people died from COVID-19. So we can verify, yes, more people in the U.S. died of COVID in the 2 weeks before January 30th than died of the flu in the past 3 years. With your Verify, I'm Casey Decker.
Is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
Oh my gosh.
Are you insane? This is a sham.
No.
Nope.
Y'all, just stop.
Finally here. Drum roll.
I'm on before the show, and nobody's gonna remember me. I need to get back to who I really am.
Wow, welcome to DBL. That's the first look at the new Elvis movie, simply called Elvis. It's from Baz Luhrmann, who also directed Moulin Rouge. You can even tell with the cinematography,
Yes.
right? We immediately was like, okay, that's Baz Luhrmann. Tom Hanks also stars as Elvis's manager, the Colonel. Take a look.
I wish to promote you, Mr. Presley. Are you ready to fly?
I'm ready. Ready to fly.
Tomorrow, all of America will be talking about Elvis Presley.
Ooh, what is our take on? Okay, Tori, you look. What's happening?
I actually want to go to Erica because at first I was like, cool, Austin Butler, Elvis, like that Baz Luhrmann, like I love him. And then
there's a lot of missed history.
Yeah, Erica, go
speak
ahead.
on it.
And to be honest, we don't know what side or what it's going to look like, what story's going to be told. But Elvis creeps me out, y'all. He's always creeped me out.
Why?
Because, I mean, first of all, you would be remiss to talk about Elvis and not talk about how he was like the original cultural appropriator.
Yes.
And even though he was controversial, like when we talk about cultural appropriation, really it's about the idea of doing things that are promoting culture, this particular instance, black culture, but taking the black out of it to make it more palatable to mainstream media. Elvis was controversial because he was doing things that weren't considered like, of the moral fabric of the country, but it still got a pass because he was white. So he introduced black culture as a white man. That's one thing. But then Elvis had a child bride that he brought over from West Germany at 14 years old. The man was 24. Y'all don't find that creepy?
Well, now I do.
Creepy.
Now she said it's ruined.
Will that be discussed? Because we always see these like glamorous depictions of Elvis, and I get it. He has a crew. Don't come for me, Elvi. But I mean, I just have to be honest. Like, I don't get it. That's just it.
Well said.
I do think I did a little research, and Baz, may I call you Baz? No? Okay, great. He says he is going into the racial lines, and that he played.
He has to.
He has to. Otherwise, what are you doing, right? Read the room. What are we talking about here? I am concerned, though, that I read that he finds him an incredible punk rock kind of guy, and it's going to be this glorified look and maybe not as deep. I now hope it really does go into those shadows.
We're going to have to wait and see.
Yeah.
It's complex. It's definitely a complex character and story, so I hope they nail it. Okay, we are getting a first look at Viola Davis as Michelle Obama in the new Showtime series called The First Lady. Take a look.
I can't have you backseat driving.
They want to turn me into a black Martha Stewart? I will pick my team, choose my causes, understood?
Okay, so here's a look at Viola next to the real Michelle. As we see, there is a scene with Michelle posing for her official portrait. Michelle Pfeiffer also stars as former First Lady Betty Ford, Gillian Anderson portraying Eleanor Roosevelt. Oh boy, Erica, tell me, what are you thinking?
I love this series, but I'm obviously very much clued in on Viola playing Michelle, because in my mind, they're like girlfriends and they had whole conversations, and we watched, if you follow Viola Davis, she was very transparent when she was getting prepared for this role. So I'm really excited to see how this all comes out, and I'm also curious if Michelle's like, girl, you know you did that right. It's all playing out in my mind.
Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, I think she's going to do a great job. They should change the Emmys to the Violas. She's going to sweep the board.
She's going to sweep it. I just hope that and I know they will, but I think a lot of people don't understand everything that Michelle Obama accomplished before becoming the First Lady, right? With her own merit, she could have been president. This is someone that graduated top of her class Princeton, then graduated magna cum laude Harvard, then went to Chicago, was in a law firm, left the law firm to do stuff for the city and the people, was on commissioners. Then, you know, this was all before she met Barack Obama. So this woman is a boss.
Her page.
Yeah, Barack was underneath her. She was his boss.
I know.
In Chicago, which I think is incredible. A lot of people don't know that. Is anyone else interested in Eleanor Roosevelt's story?
I want to know what they're going to say about. I don't know if I can.
There are definitely rumors.
There's rumors about her sexuality.
Absolutely.
About her having an arrangement.
Absolutely. And to be honest with you, I think it'll be fascinating to learn about Betty Ford. Few people know about her. She was a strong alcoholic and created, thankfully, the Betty Ford Center, which has helped so many people.
Strong alcoholic.
She had a really hard time.
She really worked at it.
She had a hard time, and instead of going down that spiral, she's created a light for a lot of people.
And Eleanor Roosevelt was like termed like the original ally because of what she did for a lot of people of color. So I think her story has been not told either. I agree. So I'm looking forward to all of it.
Who walked her down the aisle to FDR? Who walked her down the aisle? Anyone?
Someone really well known.
The Monopoly guy.
It was Theodore Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt.
I was close.
You
He
look
like
just
that.
like him.
Yeah.
It's true.
The Monopoly.
I was on point.
You were.
Yeah.
All right.
Good job, Jeff. Okay, so
thanks for your contribution to history.
Kelly Clarkson wants to change her name. Kelly recently filed legal documents to change her name to just simply Kelly Brienne, which is her middle name. It's not clear if she will change her name professionally or if the Kelly Clarkson Show will now become the Kelly Brienne Show. Kelly is currently, we've talked about it here on this show, involved in a bitter divorce from her ex, Brandon Blackstock. Last year, she was declared legally single and also successfully changed her name back to Kelly Clarkson. That was also her manager. Do you remember all that drama?
Yeah, I remember. I'm just going to give a swift Kelly. Nah, girl.
I agree.
No.
Your
name is cemented in history. I mean, think about the 40-year-old version. Kelly Clarkson. I mean, come on. Right? Come on. I think that if she changes her name, then it should be in the same vein that when she changed her name when she was married, because we didn't know about it and we don't need to know about this one. Kelly Clarkson.
Yeah, the only thing I thought about when we were pitching the story in the morning meeting was the 40-year-old virgin.
Carell.
So when you said that, like, you took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah, we didn't know about her other change in names. Why would you take a brand name, a name that rolls off your tongue, Kelly Clarkson, right, and change that to something else, especially when you already have a show named after your name?
What if she wants to rebrand herself? P. Diddy did.
No, just dye your hair red, girl. She was a part of the fabric of our lives, our coming of age. Kelly Clarkson lives forever.
I think I kind of agree. I feel terrible terrible because I'm like, do what you want to do. It's your name. I think it's a bad idea. I think I just think she's already a brand. If she wants to make it the Kelly show, that's fine. Maybe take away the Clarkson. But things are getting too muddled and people are going to forget. It's way easier as Kelly Clarkson.
Wow, you're on the...
Let her do what she wants to do. If she's rebranding herself, nobody got mad at Puffy, P. Diddy, Sean Diddy Combs.
I don't know. I think there was some
People are always
controversy.
mad. Yes.
They're like, get real, P. Diddy.
It's like, just pick one. Just pick one.
The sign, remember that? That didn't go over well with Prince.
Right.
Yeah.
Didn't he go to Lion?
It wasn't the sign, it was the symbol formerly known as Prince.
I'm fired.
Let's get it. Hey, I love me some Prince. Let's keep it real. Coming up on DBL, a woman's crazy scheme to get paid for maternity leave backfires. How she tricked people into thinking she was pregnant.
DBL is sharing milestones in Black history. Black students and employees who experience discrimination based on their Black hairstyles and textures can now look to the Crown Act. It was first passed as California law in 2019, prohibiting the discrimination of natural hairstyles. Now, 13 more states have joined this movement. Visit thecrownact.com to help make this federal law.
Closed captioning provided by Who's your digital buddy? Hi. Who's your digital buddy?
That was like 3 years ago.
No, I have a digital buddy, Caroline. She does it for me every day.
I don't have a digital buddy.
Just so you know, Tom Hanks, people are writing it, he looks terrible. And then Elvis, he's wearing a prosthetic, I believe. And also, that's where he got coronavirus, filming this movie in Australia. He and his wife caught, remember back in the day when Tom Hanks got it and everyone's like, what's real? He was filming Elvis.
Oh, I didn't know that. Interesting.
So, yeah, anybody here remember Lisa Gibbons? I love Lisa Gibbons. She was great. Remember her?
Mm-hmm.
Great. A lot of people agreeing with Erica about the creepiness of Elvis. I was just in Memphis as Lawrence Strickland. I saw his home there. He is just ... too creepy.
I think it's cool, though, like if he does show the other side that most people don't know. I think there's a whole new generation that know Elvis but don't know any history of
they just
Elvis.
know the word.
Right, so I think if you show that in the documentary a little bit, a whole new generation of people will know Elvis but also know the truth about the history.
Right, the real story.
People just love the caricature
Exactly,
of Elvis.
that's what I'm
It's
saying.
not
So
even
I
a real
think
person.
I think it's a lot of people are like, why would you do this at that time? I think it could be a real learning tool.
I hope it is.
To do it.
I hope it's not a glorification of Elvis and his hips and pelvis, because that didn't. Erica's absolutely right. It didn't come from him. None of those things. Not one of those
but
things.
it's good to portray that. I think it's really.
You have to
it's
show
a
that.
great
Exactly.
time to portray that.
Yeah, I hope that they take the responsibility of portraying it accurately.
Right.
Yeah. I agree with you. And Baz did Strictly Ballroom. He also did Leo DiCaprio's Romeo and Juliet, which was like Claire Danes.
But The Great Gatsby really is similar in the looks to what we just saw.
Is that the Leo one?
Yeah.
So yeah, and Gatsby's a dark book,
and the
they
sound,
use that.
the music that they use.
Leo and Great Gatsby.
Yeah.
So much is happening live next week on DBL. You're not going to want to miss a day. Seniors and good sex. Sex expert Dr. Diana Wiley is live to share tips for staying active in the bedroom after 50. Real housewife Heather Dubrow shares her reaction to her daughter Kat coming out. Joseph Gordon-Levitt addresses rumors of a Third Rock from the Sun reunion. Celebrity Big Brother host Julie Chen Moonves dishes on DBL co-host and former Big Brother contestant Jeff Schroeder. A woman in Georgia is being investigated for a ruse so elaborate it could be a movie plot. Here's what happened. Authorities say this woman, 43-year-old Robin Folsom, who is a state official, pretended to be pregnant to get paid maternity leave. They say she wore a fake baby bump, invented a fake father who emailed her bosses saying she needed bed rest at home, and then sent fake pictures of her so-called newborn to her coworkers. Problem is, no record of a birth can be found, and a coworker saw her bump come away from her body. Yeah, authorities say she swindled $15,000 in paid leave. She's currently awaiting trial and could face up to 10 years in prison for identity fraud and up to 15 years for making false statements. Wow, mind blown.
Yeah, I can't believe I didn't think of this.
Erica's on board.
Erica's all, yeah.
Commitment. That sounds exhausting to me.
Sis must have been exhausted. She must have been exhausted. And I'm not saying, I'm totally kidding. Obviously, maternity leave is not a vacation.
Oh, yes. It's
but
hard.
you know, it kind of reminded me of the episode of Sex and the City where Carrie decided to throw herself a me shower because she had never been married, never had a baby, but had always given to like everybody else. So she's like, it's all about me. This is just taking it another step further. Obviously, it's not the right thing to do, but you know, mental health is real, y'all.
Yeah.
But it is. I mean, to keep up this ruse for how many months on end and then follow up with baby pictures, I mean, that's something clinical, right? Like, that's something Tori would do.
Okay.
I'm just joking. No, I'm just...
Just kidding. I'm not pregnant.
I heard a couple oohs out there, too. I apologize in advance.
No, not at all. I wonder, and this is again speculation, if she doesn't have an issue with not being able to either. There's an attachment and an obsession with going that far with it. That perhaps there was some infertility. Again, totally speculation. I'm not a clinician, but the wearing of the thing and then the pictures and then the dad and then that is either you're really into lying, right? You're like almost a sociopath, a con artist, or you're really into trying to have this baby or feeling like a mom.
I wonder if she's done this before.
Yeah.
I wonder if she goes from job to job to job and this is how she makes out. I don't know. I mean, that would attribute her to being a con artist. If this is something that came up later on life, it could be something more clinical. But regardless, like,
it's sad.
It's sad. It's exhausting. It's wrong.
All those things, but what great timing. Because if you question a woman if she's pregnant or not, you don't even ask that whether you know someone's pregnant. So you're just like, congrats. Even though, like, I saw you drop the fake thing. I'm like, I'm not telling anybody. I didn't see anything. I'm not involved. I'm going to pull Matthew Stafford and just, I'm out.
It's so true. It's so true.
I'm out of here. Yeah, that's hilarious.
Okay, coming up on DBL, a woman's underwater adventure to uncover an important tie to Black history. She's sharing her remarkable story with us next.
Suffer from pain?
American troops are staged in Eastern Europe to assist its allies if Russia attacks Ukraine. President Joe Biden said the U.S. sent equipment into Ukraine and warned it would defend its allies.
And make no mistake, the United States will defend every inch of NATO territory with the full force of American power. An attack against one NATO country is an attack against all of us.
Over the last week, Google search trends showed a spike in people asking about Ukraine's status in the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO. So, let's verify. Is Ukraine a NATO member? Our sources are NATO, the Brookings Institution, the Embassy of Ukraine to the United Kingdom, and Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky. NATO is an alliance of countries that started after World War II. It started with 12 countries and has expanded to 30 members across North America and Europe, including 5 that share borders with Russia. In order to join, existing members of NATO must unanimously vote in the new country, and the nation must agree to 14 articles. Article 5 is the most frequently referenced because it requires every country to collectively respond to an attack on any NATO member. In 2008, Ukraine applied to join NATO with the support of Presidents George W. Bush and Barack Obama. However, there was resistance from France and Germany, and the application didn't go anywhere. So, no, Ukraine is not a member of NATO, although its application is pending, and it still wants to join the alliance. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
Perhaps there's something spiritual that's happening in these oceans. There's a need to lay the ancestors to rest.
Wow, welcome back to DBL. She left her job and joined a group of divers searching for wrecked slave ships. Now she's taking listeners on a deep ocean dive to unearth hidden treasures in Black history. Earlier, we spoke with National Geographic explorer Tara Roberts about her eye-opening journey.
So your journey starts with a visit to the National Museum of African American History. How did this trip inspire you to become a diver?
Yeah, this was completely accidental. I'm a storyteller by trade, and I just happened to go to the museum. I ended up on the second floor, and I saw this picture on the floor of a group of primarily Black women on a boat in wetsuits. So it intrigued me. And then when I looked to find out who they were and what they were doing, I discovered they were a part of this group called Diving with a Purpose, and that their mission was to help search for and document slave shipwrecks around the world. And I was blown away by that.
Can you share what enslaved Africans experienced on these ships?
I'll say, first of all, I just learned numbers, which I didn't know. Here's some stats for you. There were 36,000 voyages that brought 12.5 million Africans to the Americas. So already that's a huge number that I didn't know. And they estimate that as many as 1,000 of those ships wrecked. But to date, less than 10 have been found. Wow. So there's all this history out there to be discovered, which is pretty exciting. What we're doing is less about focusing on that horror and that pain, and it's more about honoring these people whose lives were lost and who've never been mourned. They think that it was about 1.8 million Africans who lost their lives in the Middle Passage. So part of this work is about remembering them and raising their stories up from the depths and back into collective memory.
Your story is unbelievable, and it's just vital for history, but to your point, to honor. Now, in your podcast, Into the Depths, you take your listeners on a journey with you back to Africa.
The podcast it's a 6-part narrative series that follows me not only to Africa, but to Latin America, to the Caribbean, and around the U.S. Wow. These are all the places where these wrecks are. And we tell stories about the ships. So there's some really kind of incredible wrecking events. So we detail some of that. We talk about the people who were on the ships. We talk about the divers and the communities that are involved in this work and trying to help bring that back into memory. And then we talk about my experience.
Throughout all your research and trying to find some answers, you were moved to tears in this process, which everyone can understand on this panel. Can you tell me about some of those moments?
Yeah, there was one moment when I went to Benin, which is a country in West Africa, and I really wanted to find out what the journey was like before these captive Africans were put on the boats. So I walked the slave trail in Benin, and I stood at a barracoon. Barracoons are the places where they held captive Africans. And I stood on the beach at a door of no return and looked back. And there was there are really no words for the feeling that I had in imagining what it was like for these captive Africans to look back at their home place and know that they may never see it again. So that was pretty hard to see that.
You are currently on the cover of National Geographic. So besides just the obvious, what makes that special for you?
Well, it's crazy.
Yes, I'm sure you just are in your car sometimes this is crazy.
It's crazy. I think what I learned is that I'm the first Black woman explorer to be on the cover. And that's crazy. I grew up reading National Geographic, dreaming of being able to tell stories like that, and realizing that most of the people who were telling those stories didn't look like me.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Tara. You are fascinating, phenomenal, amazing Black woman that we are happy to celebrate. DBL Nation, the Into the Depths podcast is now available on Apple Podcasts and all other podcast websites. Thank you, Tara. We'll be right back.
Thank you so much. Great.
Thank you.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by
At the Winter Olympics, nearly half of the sports required the use of snow. After all, what's skiing without the feeling of fresh powder? Chinese government officials are touting the snow this year, especially since nearly all of it was artificially created. That's led to numerous headlines blasting China for its reliance on snow-making equipment to host the games. So let's verify. Are the Beijing Winter Olympics relying almost entirely on artificial snow? Our sources are the International Ski Federation, a study on artificial snow by the Sport Ecology Group, and Noah Malich, an associate professor of geography at the University of Colorado Boulder, who's an expert in snow hydrology. Using fake snow is extremely common in winter sports. 95% of ski resorts use it, and the International Ski Federation explicitly permits its use in competitions, like the Olympics. In most cases, fake snow supplements the real stuff, like during the 1980 games in Lake Placid, New York, which were the first Olympics to use it. Although Malich and the Sport Ecology Group say the reliance on fake snow is increasing, making it more than 80% of the snow used in the Sochi and Pyeongchang games, and now nearly 100% in Beijing.
This is the first time the Olympics have been held in a place that is entirely reliant on artificial snow.
So, it's true. The Beijing Winter Olympics is relying almost entirely on artificial snow. Malich says downhill events like alpine skiing will have a more consistent and faster course, but aerial sports like the halfpipe could be more hazardous to athletes who lose control.
Artificial snow tends to be a lot more dense, a lot icier, a lot harder, more like concrete once it's formed on the ground. Whereas natural snow can be more like a powdery snow, lighter and fluffier.
With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
For the casual hockey fan who only tunes in during the Winter Games, here are a few common terms. Face-off. This is how play begins. The puck is dropped between two players who try to gain possession. Power play. If Team A has a player in the penalty box, then Team B has more players on the ice. Team B has a power play. Blue line. Two blue lines cut the rink into 3 zones, the neutral zone and the end zones. Center line, the red line that divides the rink in half. Goal line, the 2 red lines that run the width of the rink and are lined up with the goal opening. Icing, if a player shoots the puck and it crosses the center line and opponent's goal line, that's icing. Offside. This is one of the most confusing rules for non-hockey fans. Basically, it means that if Team A has possession, then the puck must cross the blue line into Team B's zone before the attacking players do. If a player from Team A enters the zone before the puck, then Team A is offside. There are other nuances to offside, but that is the simplest definition.
Is happening live next week on DBL. You're not going to want to miss a day. Seniors and good sex. Sex expert Dr. Diana Wiley is live to share tips for staying active in the bedroom after 50. Real housewife Heather Dubrow shares her reaction to her daughter Kat coming out. Joseph Gordon-Levitt addresses rumors of a Third Rock from the Sun reunion. Celebrity Big Brother host Julie Chen Moonves dishes on DBL co-host and former Big Brother contestant Jeff Schroeder. And David Arquette joins us live to discuss his reinvention of Bozo the Clown. Just wait till you see what he's come up with. Plus, food author Adam Richman takes us down memory lane with the most iconic and forgotten foods from the 80s. And 8-time medalist Apollo Ono stops by to give us his take on the 2022 Winter Games. All next week, only on DBL. You do not want to miss next week. But we got one more story before we go. 50 Cent is clapping back. The rapper was blasted on Twitter by online body shamers after his performance during the halftime show. Some saying 50 Cent now looks more like $1. But he isn't fazed, saying, quote, "They're just teasing me because they know I can drop the weight. Fat shaming only applies when you're ashamed of your fat."
You know what's interesting? There's a quote that says, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent," which is similar to that. That's Eleanor Roosevelt. He's bringing it back to Eleanor.
He's
really?
She somehow conflated that.
You can't be fat shamed if you don't consent to it. That's exactly what she's saying.
1,000,000% agree. Most people miss the target completely. I'm like, you tried to insult me, but that's not even a thing that I feel anyway about.
Two more.
4 scores and 7 years ago, 50 Cent performed at the halftime show. He's going to lose the weight. I think he's taking it in stride. I like the way he's handling it. And I'm telling you, this is going to be motivation. We're going to see in like a couple months, he's going to be jacked 50.
He don't care.
You don't care. He's making money off of it. He's laughing to the bank.
Y'all hit the wrong target. You got to get something that he cares about. I mean, I'm not trying to teach you how to bully. I'm just telling
I'm like writing it down.
Just telling you.
DBL's new every day. We'll see you Monday, same time, same place. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody.